It's another sad day for us college football purists. We were always going to get here eventually. This was going to always be the outcome. And that is the new rules, the new changes, the new era of college football was going to land us in a courtroom. And that's what's going to happen. And it's going to happen in the SEC between a player who used to play at Georgia, who's currently at Mizzou, who's now suing Georgia. We're going to talk about it next here on the College Huddle. Welcome to the College Huddle. You have found yourself here at home base for 87 independent college football podcasts from coast to coast. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out our website, thecollegehuddle.com, where you can find your favorite schools podcast there at the College Huddle. We were always going to eventually get here. We were going to find ourselves inside a courtroom when it comes to NIL and how players are getting paid by their schools and former schools and collectives, and it's just an absolute mess. But this is where we're at. Let me share my screen with all of you so we can read it together. From Brad Crawford over at CBS Sportsline, Missouri's Damon Wilson II sues Georgia, claims Bulldogs trying to penalize transfer decision. Damon Wilson, a former five-star edge rusher, is battling back against Georgia in court. Missouri linebacker Damon Wilson II is suing the University of Georgia Athletic Association and its Classic City Collective, which he says is attempting to, quote-unquote, punish him through a, quote-unquote, coordinated campaign for his decision to transfer. Earlier this month, Georgia sought $390,000 in damages, citing a clause in Wilson's NIL contract after his departure to another SEC program. The lawsuit initiated what appears to be a landmark case in college football, which now includes the plaintiff fighting back with his own legal documents, highlighting a 42-page complaint filed on December 23rd in Boone County, Missouri. Wilson's attorney claimed Georgia tried to sabotage their client's potential destinations after employees falsely told at least 3 programs that if Wilson left Georgia and joined their program, Wilson would be subject to a $1.2 million buyout. Wow, that is quite the price tag that was being floated out there to some other programs. Now, I'm not completely surprised by this. I remember last year during the transfer portal season, there was a lot of buzz that Damon was going to go to a possible Big Ten school that then all of a sudden shied away rather quickly from him, and he ended up at Missouri, which I don't think a lot of people thought he was going to go to anyways. So why did that happen? Well, I think it's pretty obvious what happened now. He was a 5-star composite 5-star athlete in the 2023 recruiting cycle. Top 20 nationally, was top 5 defensive lineman, and was a top 5 recruit from the state of Florida, according to the 247 composite. And the Venice native ended up going to Georgia, where he played 2 years with the Bulldogs. His second year, his sophomore season, he finished with 22 total tackles, including 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, and was one of the biggest names to hit the portal last season. And of course, then when that happened, obviously, you have a lot of people who were incredibly interested in a young man with 2 years of eligibility, no less than 1, coming off a really big sophomore year for the Bulldogs, who were one of the better football teams in college football. So no doubt he was going to garner a lot of attention. And I think obviously there was some anger from Georgia who paid this kid in NIL, and then he turns around and says, thanks, but no thanks. I'm going to go get a bigger paycheck somewhere else. Interestingly enough, Kirby Smart on Monday during his press conference for the Sugar Bowl had this following quote that I will say is rather interesting. Now, I'm not saying it's related to Damon, but this pretty much is Kirby Smart's response to Damon, right? Everybody's announcing what they're doing. I'm announcing that I'm going in the portal. I'm announcing that I'm resigning. How about you announce that you're going to get better and you're going to practice and like actually do what the 20 and 30 years of college football players did before you, which was practice in December when they're on good teams and get better. Obviously, the question was about so many kids opting out of the bowl games and announcing that they're going to the portal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Is it directly in response to Damon? No, but let's be honest. I think that this has a lot of motivation. Kirby was probably very, very perturbed by the fact that the Georgia and then the collective is getting sued by Damon, a former player of his. So I think that this is related, even though it might not be directly related. It kind of feels like it does, doesn't it? But it's interesting here because in one regard, I understand his anger. Maybe he didn't get as big of an NIL check from Missouri as his agent was telling him he probably was going to get. And maybe he was going to get a bigger check from a Big Ten school, maybe an ACC school, whatever the school was. Those three schools that were interested in Damon, that Georgia basically sent info to them that, hey, he's going to owe $1.2 million on his deal. We're going to get to a place eventually in college football where these NIL deals are essentially 2 to 3 year contracts. You're going to come here, you're going to come to this school, and this is the contract that you're going to be forced to abide by. And there are going to be consequences when you break those contracts. In the business world today, there's non-compete clauses all the time. You see it everywhere. Hey, if you leave this job, you cannot work for a competitor of ours for X amount of time. You see that legal binding verbiage in people's contracts and whatnot. And this is going to eventually get to the place here in college football where a lot of these NIL collectives are going to be doing the same thing to try to protect their investments in the players that they're investing in to come and play at the schools that they support and they represent. And this is a similar case here. On the flip side of that, does that give them a right when a player decides to walk out of an NIL deal or contract for them to then slander his name, because this definitely can be considered slanderous, or influencing the market, if you will, by saying, hey, this player broke his contract and this is what he owes in his NIL contract to us because he walked away from it. And then beyond that, are these players are they setting themselves up in such a way to where if they do walk away, are they going to be able to afford to spend that money back, or is the next school that they're going to, are they going to be on hook of spending that money back to that other school in order for him to get out of his contract or deal so that he can play for them? It is a dirty, messy world that we have entered into in college football. I don't like it. The traditionalist part of me hates it. And a part of me wants to say to Damon, you know what? You made your bed. Lie in it. You went there. If you don't like it, deal with it. There used to be a day, and this is going to sound very foreign to some of you, but there used to be a day in college football when you committed to a school, you had to stay committed there. If you decided to transfer, you were forced to sit out an entire year before you could play again. It wasn't that long ago, folks. Transferring meant you were putting your career on a back burner for basically an entire season. There were consequences for your decisions. Do I like that particular model? Not necessarily. I understand things can happen. Coaches can get up and leave and walk away from their jobs and get new jobs. And gosh, there's some coaches that are literally just they've had 5 jobs in 4 or 5 years. So I get it. I understand why the players are saying, why should we be held to a higher standard than the coaches themselves are being held to? And it is kind of hypocritical in college football for you to say you need to stay committed to a school for 3 to 4 years when the head football coach can literally just walk out, or the school can fire him at any point for not, winning enough football games. It is hypocritical. And so I get where the players are coming from. But at the same time, I also understand what Kirby Smart's saying. It's ridiculous to watch bowl season and you're watching kids play basically who played very little during the season. And a lot of the players who played during the season are opting out or jumping in the portal for a hope that they get more money. It's big business, and I don't like it, but it's the world that we live in. Is Damon Wilson, who, by the way, this year in his third year had a pretty good season, 20 total tackles, 8 solo, 9 sacks, led Missouri with 9 sacks on the season, a fumble recovery, and an interception. Um, is Are you siding with him on this? Or are you siding with Georgia and their collective on this? Would love to get your thoughts. Who's at fault for this? Is it just the world in which we live in? If you're a Missouri fan, do you kind of feel like he's saying, I really wish I would have went somewhere else? And that's kind of what this lawsuit's about, saying, you know what? They kept me from getting a bigger paycheck maybe at another school. How do you feel about that as a Missouri fan? If you're a Georgia fan, what are your thoughts on him leaving you and him now suing Georgia for all of this? I would love to know what you all think down in the comment section below. We'll be back with another college football take here in a day or two. Make sure you're locked in right here at the College Huddle. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell, and always let us know what you think down in the comment section below. Have a good day.